Let's bring the hands to the heart. Thank you. So this week here we talk about chakras. Yeah, today we're thinking about the introduction to the chakras and what are they basically. So before I can tell you a story about this that explains maybe to even better understand what this is about, somehow consciousness within you, we also had this in the Yoga Sutras, consciousness within you is visible in the way how the breath moves through your body. For example, you may remember in chapter 1 of the Yoga Sutras, we have Patanjali mentioning that when the mind is gripped by the afflictions, which are laziness, hedonism, lack of progress, and so on, then sometimes this is visible in the breath not properly flowing. So you see it in people, for example, exhaling excessively and not properly inhaling, or inhaling excessively, not properly exhaling. So the breath being unbalanced somehow. And the proper flow of the breath, so the proper balance between the inhalation and the proper balance with the exhalation, is seen as also balance of consciousness, balance of mind. So in a way, this is why also we control the breath in yoga and why we pay attention to the breath, because elementary, the breath is an entrance into the movement of consciousness. You know, the exhalation is the outward movement of consciousness. The inhalation is the inward movement of consciousness. So the dream state and the wakeful state of consciousness both move within the breath. This is somehow what we also have in the Yoga Sutras. Well, interestingly, you know, that breath, which is somehow, therefore, the breath is in that way the carrier of the energy of consciousness. So you could say consciousness itself is simply your awareness. It's simply the field of your awareness that expands for all things. But that awareness flows with the breath. So putting it like this, you could say the breath is the body of the power of your awareness. This is in a way how you could see it. And when you breathe into something, you give it the power of consciousness. Yeah, wherever your breath flows, there somehow your consciousness flows. Like in a deeper sense, it could be perceived this way. So I've never looked at it like this. That's the first time I'm doing this, but it just came to me today, so I'm saying it like that. In a way, also Kundalini, so the power of your consciousness, is the upward moving breath. Yeah? Kundalini is the upward moving breath, because the breath could move in many different directions. Yeah? You could say Your awareness could move in many different directions by means of your breath. Yeah? And Kundalini is that breath that moves up. And how does that breath move up? This is the question. And why does the breath move up? Well, the breath moves up because in your inner space of in your inner space of awareness, in which the landscapes of your inner experience unfold, in that particular inner space in which your awareness travels, on the very top of that inner place is Brahman. So at the very top of that inner place is the gateway into eternity. It's a little bit like when you enter into the church, yeah? And what do you have at the very top? You know, you may have many ornaments, and you have Jesus in front, and you have the altar, and you have all kinds of things, and all kinds of saints around you, and all kinds of events taking place, and you see plates where, I don't know, Jesus is carrying a cross, and then there is somebody else, and you see things. But if you look around, on the very top, so like you see these events going together, and then these events become denser and denser, and they spiral up, and then you have the couple, yeah, and then you see Mother Maria maybe, and you know, and God looking down from above, and then on the very, very top you have the pigeon, yeah, like you have the bird. And the bird symbolizing the entrance into eternity. So the bird symbolizes somehow actually a gateway. That's what the bird symbolizes. And interestingly, the bird, it's fun to think about that particular picture, because what is peculiar about a bird in the context of a church, also in the context of any religion, that the bird is actually a formless figure, because especially when you see it in the context of everything else which is in the church, you have people there, yeah, and you have things there, and you have all kinds of things there that you can actually touch in a way, that are conceptual for you. But the bird somehow breaks that concept, which is the reason why people don't really pay attention to the bird in the center of the church. They pay attention to Jesus. They go, you know, see Jesus in front, say, you know, Jesus, you know, make my marriage good again, whatever. Yeah. So they talk to Jesus, but they are not really, they don't pay attention to this bird. So in this bird, why don't they pay attention to the bird? Because the bird is the entrance into what's beyond the conceptual mind. Yeah, it's the entrance into what's beyond that you can actually hold, what's beyond what you can actually understand, what's beyond the normal framework of your understanding. That's why it's a bird, and that's why it's not a person. Because a person you can understand, a bird you cannot understand. Yeah. Bird is just like, okay, yeah. You can't hold it, literally you can't hold it. Yeah. If you try to grasp it, it flies away. So we have at the top in the church, at the couple, we have the entrance into Brahmarandra somehow. Yeah, this is because the architecture that we create, for example, when you look at a church, this architecture is our inner architecture. These are the inner landscapes of the human mind. The way we enter the church, this is somehow we enter an inner experience. We enter the experience of the hallway that goes to the center, and then there is the altar, and from the altar you move up into the sky of consciousness, and above the sky of consciousness there is the entrance into eternity. So it's an inner journey, you see? Yeah. And that inner journey is manifested in the outer architecture. In the same way it's with any other temple, or with anything outside, and in that sense with anything inside, that inside of you there is a landscape just like there is a landscape outside of you. And in that journey inside through your inner landscapes of experience, Kundalini, the energy of consciousness, has to take a certain path. And the path that Kundalini takes is along the chakras. We'll come later to this, what that means. Yeah? And why does she move upward? Well, again, because I told you, she wants to move into the truth, or ideally, you know, you should guide her into the truth. Let's put it like this, yeah, because the breath can move any direction. Yeah, your prana can move any direction. There is in the Hindu traditions, they say, you know, when a person dies, the life breath at the moment of death exits the body in various ways. Yeah, it can exit the body through the ears, through the eyes, through the nose, through the mouth, through the genitals, through the anus. It can exit many ways actually. And depending on where the life breath exits, at least according to their understanding, this is the incarnation that you, like there are different dimensions in which you take a new incarnation basically. And the only way for you to achieve truth, for you to achieve complete understanding of the mystery of existence, is when the life breath enters through the top of the head, exits through the top of the head, which is the place where it originally entered into, because when you were born, your head was open. Yeah, so originally you came from that place, so you entered your being through Brahmarandra. And in order to achieve freedom from illusion, truth, you have to exit Brahmarandra again. Brahmarandra is the gate of Brahman. This is basically the place of the top of your head. So Kundalini is the upward moving breath. Yeah, Urdhve prano in Tantra also. The upward moving prana, yeah, is somehow is Kundalini. Some in the Abhinavagupta and some tantric traditions they say, Kundalini is Udara prana, yeah, is the fiery upward rising of breath. So, and where do the chakras come into play here? What do the chakras have to do with this? Maybe it's interesting for you to feel into that. So there's a story also. I mean, there are many stories, but that's a nice story how to frame that. So in that story is the goddess Malini. Malini is one name for the goddess, one word for the goddess. And Malini means the precious one. Malini is the crystal. And the goddess Malini appeared in the universe. She appeared and she went towards Bhairava. Bhairava is the tantric deity resembling, Bhairava means the fierce one, the fearsome one, you could say. So the one who is terrifying, this is Bhairava. Why is Bhairava terrifying? Because Bhairava is that energy fundamentally that brings you beyond the borders of the mind. Yeah, it's the tantric deity. Yeah, it looks very, very fierce. But he's the supreme deity in Tantra, somehow, Bhairava. And he's the one who bestows freedom from fear, fundamentally. And that's the idea of Bhairava. So he signals the death of death. So he brings you freedom from any fear, freedom from limitation. So, and Malini goes to Bhairava, the supreme tantric deity, and says, "Who am I?" So apparently Malini got born, or apparently Malini came into existence, but she doesn't know who she is. So Malini goes to Bhairava and says, "Who am I?" And Bhairava says, "Well, how come do you not know that?" Which is always the first answer, because she's supposed to define the nature of the power of the universe. It's not he who is to define that. So he says, "How come do you not know that?" And then he says, "You are the one who is born from the letters emanating from my limbs." So he says, you are basically that thing that came into existence because out of my limbs, so out of my arms and my legs, there were letters, yeah, sounds, syllables emanating. And these syllables emanating from out of my limbs became you. So this is who you are. And she somehow a little bit piqued, a little bit puzzled, doesn't really understand that answer. Tells him, well, so if I have been made out of you from the letters emanated from your limbs, she's a little bit pissed. Where do you come from? Yeah, what's your origin? And Bhairava says, well, I am unborn. I'm the unborn Lord of the universe. I'm the unborn, self-born Lord of the universe. Yeah, I'm not born. So I'm actually unmanifest. So I'm the unborn Lord of the universe. So I'm not really here. That's basically what he's saying. He says, I'm the unborn Lord of the universe. And you have been, then he continues and said, well, you have been emanating from the letters from my limbs, which are the principles of the universe, and therefore you are the row of heroes. So what does that mean? It means like that so first of all, in India, it's if you want to understand somehow why there is, like, what is the world? Okay, what is the world actually that we live in? The world that we live in, from that basic idea, is is emanated out of God. It's emanated out of the word. It's a little bit like, it's similar. It's very similar actually to also the biblical tradition. So in the beginning there was the word, so it's kind of emanated out of the word Paravaj, the supreme word. And the supreme word is sound. Yeah? So the world is emanated out of that sound. And this sound is Shabda Brahman. So it's Brahman in form of sound. It's actually just sound. Yeah? This is why Om is the sound that denotes Ishvara. So Om is the sound that denotes God. In that way, you know, Om is God, fundamentally. Yeah? So the world is that's emanated out of sound, and everything somehow has a sonic form. The mantras, for example, in India, mantras are not just prayers, but when mantras contain bija, then they contain bija, they contain seed sound, because the mantra is the body of a deity. It is the sonic form of a deity. When we have Ein, Kring, this would be the sonic form of Kali, yeah, for example. So you have like these sounds that are somehow the embodiments of a divine experience, or the embodiments of consciousness in a sonic form. So she now realizes she's that row of heroes. Why heroes? Because these sounds, each of these sounds incorporates the sonic form of a virtue by which means an obstacle in reality can be overcome. Each of the syllables of the Sanskrit alphabet, you could say, or each of the syllables that form the sounds of which Malini is created. So you could say the syllables form the powers by which means you can overcome sadness, by which means you can overcome depression, by which means you can overcome fear, by which means you can overcome cruelty. All these darknesses are overcome by the sounds, by the powers emanating from the Supreme Lord. And she, Malini, is the accumulate of all of that sounds, and therefore she's the row of heroes. The row of heroes is very often also the garland of letters. In that image you have many letters, sounds, which are strung upon a garland that moves through consciousness, you could say, and in a way, of course, that moves through the universe. So Malini apparently is that row of heroes, the accumulates of that sounds that emanated from the limbs of Bhairava. However, Malini is not very happy with that answer. She becomes quite annoyed and she says, well, if it is the case that you are self-born and I'm born out of you, out of the letters emanating from your limbs, then take your letters back here and now. And then handling back the garland of letters, which are the principles of the universe, out of which the world is created, handling back the garland of letters to Bhairava, Malini fell asleep. This is like the story. So Malini enters supreme unconsciousness. Yeah? She falls asleep in the state of deep sleep state. Yeah? Swapna, she falls deeply asleep. And so Bhairava is very astonished. And he turns to Malini and he thinks, where have all the letters gone? Because apparently the letters have all disappeared. And Bhairava thinks to himself, apparently all these letters have fused together in a coiled form and have built the principle of the individual soul. And great indeed is the goddess power, thus thought the Lord of the universe. That's the last sentence of that story. So the Lord of the universe is surprised that the goddess has given back the garland of letters and therefore had fallen asleep in a coiled form where all the letters have fused together, building the principle of the individual soul. So what is the individual soul in that story? The individual soul apparently appears as the power of the goddess that gave away its supreme facets of the universe, the supreme sonic aspects, by which means all the obstacles in reality can be overcome. The soul gave them away, or the supreme goddess gave them away. And now she turned into the individual soul, which is the coiled form, you could say, of the supreme ever-expanded goddess. So there's a supreme ever-expanded goddess consisting all of the principles of the universe. If she coils, giving away the supreme power, she forms the principle of the individual soul. So, and this is somehow what the individual soul is. The individual soul is that principle that is a fraction of the aspects of the universe that form creation. Well, how did it happen? Why was it that Malini apparently was annoyed? I mean, it's a very good question, you know. Why did Malini not want these letters? Why did she give them away to Bhairava? And the answer is, the answer also we find in our own lives. When you, for example, have a fight with your friend or with your partner, then eventually your partner may tell you, you are like everybody else. Yeah? And you may think, well, this is very hurtful. Yeah? When somebody calls you, you are like everybody else. But as a matter of fact, if you think about it rationally, then telling you that you are like everyone else is actually objectively not an insult at all, because everyone else is that mass of mind and body and feeling that created the whole world. Yeah? Because everything is created by everyone else, including cars, buildings, philosophy, music, the arts. Yeah? Everything got created by everyone else. Why is it then fundamentally that you perceive it as an insult if somebody tells you you're like everyone else? You perceive it as an insult, not so much to your mind, because your mind could say, ah, yeah, I'm like everyone else, that's very good. But you perceive it as an insult because fundamentally your own life is not about creating something great per any objective measure, or not creating something great according to any objective measure, but the purpose of your life, not of your mind and not of your body, is to, in a completely unique way for yourself, discover the universe again for you in the way you personally want to discover the universe again. Yeah? Your life is not about achieving any outer goal that anybody can measure on you. It's not about that you are ought to have that university degree, or you ought to achieve that particular standard of anything. Deep inside your soul, these kind of measurements are completely not interesting for you. They bore you to death. What you really want to do is, you want to figure out for yourself what is the universe. And you want to justify this also only in front of yourself. There is nobody else you need to prove anything for. You only want to figure out what is the world through your own eyes. Yeah? What is the supreme through your own eyes? You want to discover your own divinity, your own miracle that you are, the miracle of your existence. Again, from zero. Yeah? You want to start at zero and then discover the miracle which is the universe. This is the mission of your soul in a way. Yeah, I do not know what is the mission of your mind. Maybe you have some mind missions also, and some body missions and some emotion missions, but the mission of your soul is to discover the universe in you. And this is why when people tell you, you like everyone else, it insults you. It doesn't insult your mind, and maybe it doesn't even insult your body, because maybe you think everybody else looks better than you. Yeah? It's actually, but it's insulting your soul. Because fundamentally, you want to be unique, because this is your mission. And somehow you have declared this already in the very beginning of time. That's what the story says. In the beginning of all time, you have declared in front of Bhairava, this is what you declared, that you want to discover the nature of the divine again. Yeah, you have said, I want to discover what is God. Yeah? And I want to do this again. I want to enter darkness. Yeah? I want to enter unknowingness. I want to enter complete illusion. And then out of that darkness, I want to create the universe again. This is what you have said, somehow. And this is why you gave away the powers of the Supreme Goddess. You gave away the garland of letters, yeah? The heroes, by which means everything can be overcome. And you fell asleep in a coiled form. So, and your sleep in a coiled form is of course Kundala. Yeah, this is of course Kundalini. So the soul somehow sleeps in form of Kundalini at the base. Yeah, it sleeps in the physical body, sleeps in the manifest. So and then the goddess, yeah, being now in illusion, so being now quite confused, comes back to Bhairava and says, so how now, since I'm asleep, so in the asleep form she basically turns herself to Bhairava again and she says, basically, no, I'm sleeping. How can I now find my true form again? So how can I find the original form, or to say, how can I now discover, how can I finish my journey? Yeah, discover the universe in the way I want to discover it. And Bhairava says, well, in order to achieve that, you have to travel now to 7 places in India. So you have to perform a pilgrimage. You have to go on that sacred pilgrimage. And on that sacred road of pilgrimage, you have to prostrate yourself, and you have to give sacrifices to each place. And by giving sacrifices to each place, you may discover a particular aspect of Kundalini, like of you, and in that way you may regain your nature. So, and she's doing that. She's going to the 7 places. She's prostrating, and finally she rests in the 7th place, in the holy city of the moon. Yeah, that's the way it's called. And in the holy city of the moon, she enters a state of meditative bliss in the linga, so in a golden egg. It's said in the Bhairava Tantra, she's in that golden egg, and that and in that golden egg she's in a complete absorption of supreme bliss. You know, what is the holy city of the moon? Maybe you have seen when Shiva is meditating, sitting there on the pictures, there is a moon sometimes over his head, you know, a crescent moon here over the head. The holy city of the moon, of course, is Sahasrara Chakra. So you have like these outer places where she has to go are of course also inner places. So these outer places are the places of inner pilgrimage along which Kundalini walks. There are outer places, but there are also inner places. And then she rests in Sahasrara Chakra. This is where she remains to experience the supreme bliss of God. Very good. Very good. So, and then he approaches her again. That story. Yeah? That's the Bhairava. He approaches her and he says, yeah, teach me the secret that you have found. Yeah, teach me the secret. Now you have traveled to all these 7 places and you have awakened all these powers and you have experienced the mystery of the universe. So teach me now the secret that you have found. And I mean, first of all, he's invoking her. Yeah, he's invoking her with a very long hymn. Yeah, it's the hymn to Malini. It's in here. I have it in here, but I will not read it to you. It's very, very extensive. He's calling her upon her with her seed sounds. Yeah, he's singing basically Bija mantras over and over again, and worshipping her according to her sound nature. Well, and then after a while, after Bhairava stood in front of her, devoted to her, invoked her, she actually bursts forth out of that linga, and she bursts forth out of the holy city of the moon in her fierce form, you know, with long teeth and very, very fierce, you know, and comes over Bhairava like this, you know, looking at him and being very fierce. What do you want? And Bhairava says, you know, mother, don't kill me, you know, please be gracious with me, you know, be kind, you know. Well, I come here to receive the teaching from you, to receive the mystery from you. And the goddess says, no, I'm not giving it to you. And Bhairava says, no, mother, please, you know, please give me the teaching, you know, show me the secret that you have discovered. And the goddess says, no, I can't give it to you because you're like everyone else. No, I can't give it to you because you only want sex, like everybody. You just want sex from me, so I can't give you the teaching. It's not possible. And Bhairava says, no, it's not true. I swear, I really come here because I'm your friend. So I arrive in friendship in front of you. So please, me arriving in front of friendship, give me the supreme secret, give me the supreme teaching. Then she says, okay, since you have arrived as Mitra, as the friend, I'm sharing the teaching with you. And the teaching, of course, is the teaching of the goddess. It's the teaching of Kundalini yoga in a very deeper sense. Also the teaching of the chakras and so on. Because the Mantan Bhairava Tantra is also that Tantra that the system of the 7 chakras has first proposed. So the system of the 7 chakras, like you find it in the Shat Chakra Nirupana that we're going to read, is the system that emerged from the Mantan Bhairava. So she's teaching him the 7 system of the chakras and also the 5 different places. Like there are different ways to conceptualize the ascent of Kundalini. So what can we learn from that? Yeah, I think it's very interesting that in the very beginning, because this is the beginning of the Kumikarananda, so the beginning of the story of the little princess in the Mantan Bhairava, and in that story, quite at the beginning, Bhairava is told, so in a way you could say consciousness is told that the supreme teaching is not transmitted when the being is just wants pleasure, which most people of course want. They're of course hunting for pleasure. What is the problem with hunting for pleasure in life? Well, for us as human beings, I think it's very important to come over a certain hedonism, because you could unmask your lack of meaning in life. When people don't have meaning in life, they substitute that meaning with hedonism, because what else have you got? If you have nothing higher to aim for than the mere satisfaction of your pleasures, of course you have nothing else. So you must do it. But vice versa, if you don't run behind the mere satisfaction of your pleasures, automatically consciousness gravitates the question, what is truly meaningful for me in my life? So automatically the meaning must shine forth, because you can't push away your meaningless existence fundamentally. So the control of these desires seems to be at the very basis of the teaching. So the goddess says, I'm not giving you the teaching. He says, why? Because you only want sex from me. So overcome that. Yeah? And then Bhairava says, and this is like the other expression, that's the interesting thing, when we now think about what is our correct relationship to the divine now? Yeah? What is the relationship that we're having? Should our relationship to the divine be that we are terrified and we throw ourselves on the ground, and we are in fear, whatever? Or what is our relationship to the divine? And apparently our relationship to the divine, at least according to the Mantan Bhairava Tantra, is friendship. So what the goddess, or what God basically proposes and what the goddess accepts, is that the correct interaction with the divine is a relationship of supreme friendship. So the God proposes friendship, and the goddess accepts that friendship, saying yes, friendship indeed is the entrance into the teaching. So friendship indeed is, you could say, is the entrance into God. Yeah, like this is your relationship with the supreme friendship. Good, very good. So to that story, are there questions? Or ideas? Do ideas come up to you? Pop into your mind? So, good. What is the reality of the chakras now? What is real about them? We had that the chakras are the 7 places that the goddess has to travel in order to find her ever expanded self again, or to find the truth, to find the secret of the universe, you could say. And it is the 7 places that the goddess will travel. She will go along this path. And by the way, she has traveled along this path. Yeah? And we all have traveled along this path, will travel along this path, will experience that path in myriad of forms. Yeah? It is the path somehow to the satisfaction of all of your desires fundamentally. This is also how you could perceive it. Yeah? So it is where consciousness drinks the supreme nectar at the top of the head, entering supreme immersion within oneself. But apart from this, what is the reality also that independently from the yogic practice we can understand about the chakras? Very first, if you perceive the world, if you perceive what is that you can perceive of the world, you can perceive the inner world and you can perceive the outer world. So you can perceive the world of objectivity. You can perceive stature, book, whatever it is, the outer world. But you also can perceive the inner world. You can perceive emotions, can perceive thoughts, can perceive feelings, you can perceive impulses. This is the perception of your inner world, the perception of the outer world. That perception, where does that perception take place? That perception takes place within consciousness. This is where every perception takes place. Why do we know that? Because if there is no consciousness, there is no perception. This is why, of course, all things are contained within consciousness. Consciousness is the very framework in which the whole reality takes place. It is the stage in which the universe unfolds. The outer world and the inner world, both of them take place in consciousness. Okay, next question. Well, where is that consciousness? Does that consciousness possess shape? Does that consciousness possess form? Where does that consciousness travel? Yeah? If I stand up and I go to this door over there, then my consciousness travels along with my body to that door, exiting that door and doing something else. So, consciousness can apparently travel through space, at least in your own perception somehow. Consciousness can also travel the imaginary space. You can imagine to fly over the forest in your mind, and consciousness will travel there. To, in your imagination, fly over the forest. But interestingly, independently from if consciousness can move in the outer space, consciousness has a geometry in the inner space of experience. Consciousness is not arbitrarily distributed through your body. And also the experiences of consciousness are not arbitrarily distributed in the body. Yeah? There is a map of your inner experience. Of course, it's a map of your inner experience. So, when, for example, you say, when you feel love, where do you feel that love? Do you feel it rather in your left hand or rather in your right foot? Or do you feel it in your shoulder? Yeah? Where do you feel it? No. You may feel it actually in the center of your body. When you feel anger, yeah, and you experience anger, where do you feel your anger? You feel it in your right butt cheek rather, or do you feel it in your nose, or where exactly you feel your anger? So there is also a central axis of experience of your anger. So, and interestingly, here comes the following observation. Those feelings, emotions and impulses that are rather, because there are two elements within the universe, yeah, you could say, somehow. These are the things that you possess, and these are the things that you are. And these two are different from another. What are these strange terms? What is to possess, to be? In that sense, everything that you experience is something that you possess. Everything that you are is what you are. Where's the difference between an experience and something that you are? The difference is that the experience can go away again. When I have the experience of the white paper, this is my possession. Why is it my possession? Because people want to possess all kind of luxurious objects because they want to consume their experiences. Well, sad truth is only that at the moment the papers are gone, I don't see them anymore, and at the moment I drive with my beautiful red car against the tree, it's also gone. So I can eventually possess things, but they're not me. Yeah? The whole world of perception is something that you possess. And then there is, or that you can possess over time. Yeah? And then there is that, what is you. That what is you is per definition never that what you possess, but always the one who thinks he's the possessor. So that what is truly you is the observations. This is somehow the difference between consciousness and nature. You could also say it like this. The world is the polarity between consciousness and nature, between the outer phenomenon and the experiencer of the outer phenomenon. So when you now look at the landscape of your experience, what I said before, so the inner axis of your experience, in which your anger, your passion, your thoughts, your imaginations, your deep thoughts, your worries, yeah, your excitement, all of these things take place. If we look at these axes, there is actually a hierarchical order of how they order themselves in between the axis of those things that you possess and those things that you are. For example, you can possess sexual pleasure, but it goes away very fast. So it is far away from what you are. You also can possess a thought in that sense. You can think a thought, but the thought can also go fast away. Yeah? You can have a feeling and excitement, which you have, but it's also closer to you, because it remains longer in a way, in a sphere of your being. You can, for example, experience anger, have anger, but then it's a little bit further away from you. The interesting thing is, along the self-axis of your experience, those things which are further away from the heart, yeah, from the central axis of your body, either in the upper dimension or in the lower dimension, are those things you possess. Those things which are closer to your heart are those things that you are, which tells you fundamentally, if you simply observe yourself in meditation, that the heart is the place that you are. It is the center of consciousness. The center of consciousness is not in your forehead here. This is like your conversation with the Supreme. The center of consciousness is in your heart. From there, consciousness shines. This is also what Patanjali says in his Yoga Sutras when he says, concentrate on the lotus of the heart and the nature of consciousness becomes clear. So, good. We have now somehow the central axis of your being, yeah, in which your experience moves. The experience moves from the perineum or the base of your body till up on the top of your head. There travels the experience of the self. And all of the feelings that you have and all of the thoughts that you have, the experiences of the outer world and the experiences of the inner world become one within that axis. This axis is the reality of the experience of your chakras, foremost. Yeah? There are several aspects to the chakras also. But the first entrance into your understanding of the chakras is that the self that you are travels along the central axis of the body. And the chakras are the entrance places into the powers of that self. What are the powers of that self? Well, the powers of that self are the aspects by which means that self creates the world. How does that self create the world? The self creates the world by means of, force and dreams and mind and heart and space and visions, and all these things. Yeah, these are like the powers of the self, and these powers of the self travel along the central axis of the body. Will travel from the perineum till the top of the head. Yeah, and here also the chakras are placed. So so if you ask yourself the question now, do I have an experience of my chakras in that sense? Then the answer is you have an experience of your chakras all the time. It's just you haven't yet paid attention to it eventually, that this is actually an experience of your chakras. Because you have an experience of the self moving along the central axis, 24/7 you have the experience. You have that experience at the moment you stand up. Of course, your consciousness is completely absorbed in the outer experience. You're absorbed in what people tell you, and then you're absorbed in the inner images. But if you hold still for a second, yeah, and give yourself space for a second, you may experience that self resting in an inner luminous axis, moving from the perineum till over the top of the head. That self resting there and shining from the heart. This is where the self is. So it rests in that axis. And if now particular places, so that axis now, the central axis of your body, Sushumna Nadi also, yeah, entering in the chakras, yeah, means to enter particular powers of that self, yeah, to enter the passionate self, to enter the devoted self, to enter the powerful self, to enter the gentle self. So to enter the different aspects of what the self actually is that are experienced along the central axis of your body. Okay? So there is an anatomy to the chakras, but that anatomy is not physical. Yoga, in general, is not interested so much in the physical body, fundamentally. Yoga is interested in the phenomenon of experience and the body as a tool for that experience. So the yoga, the chakras, have an anatomy of experience. Yeah? Okay? So, and the energy of consciousness, how does the energy of consciousness move along the central axis? It moves also by means of the breath. Yeah? When the breath moves through the body, then the energy of consciousness moves along the central axis. So it is prana shakti that moves the energy of consciousness here. And when the energy of consciousness moves from the very base up till over the head, yeah, with the power of breath, yeah, then this is of course, then this is Kundalini Shakti, yeah, this is Kundalini. This is the upward moving breath, Urdhva, Prano. Good. Very, very nice. So are there anything that's inside of you to the subject?
When I sit in silence and I do a concentration exercise and the heart is what I am, and when I go up and down I go more to the possessions, right? And I concentrate on the third eye, so it's not so good actually. I have to... No.
You can do anything. It's a particular aspect of the self. The soul is always between the sky and the earth. The soul always wanders between the unmanifest and the manifest. You always wander between the world of sorrow and sadness, limitation, pain and delusion, and the world of supreme existence, eternity and true knowledge. You're always between these things. You know, this is supposed, what life is supposed to be. You're in between the eternal and the limited. If you ask yourself the very simple question, what am I? Yeah, it's a very simple question. What am I? I am the one in between eternity and limitation. You know, you are always the one who is like a spirit in matter. You're like the supreme spirit trapped in darkness. This is the experience of the human being. Yeah, the experience of the human being is the supreme in limitation. What does it mean to be the supreme in limitation? It means that you are in between. It doesn't mean that there is no supreme or that there is no reality of limitation. It means that you are in between these two. You know, you are here and this is what the heart is. You know, if you enter the heart, what does the heart tell you about the world? The heart has a message to give you. The message that the heart gives you when you enter it, yeah, there is always joy in the heart. So when you enter the heart, there is great joy, but at the same time there is great sadness. It's a little bit like a love movie. You know, good love movies are very beautiful, but they're very sad. You know, and true love is always sad. You know, and if you really love your children somehow, truly love them, you're always sad at the moment you love them. You know, you look at them and you're always sad because you know they will grow up and eventually one day they will go away from you. And this is the reason why true love, also between people, true love relationship is always tragic. Why is it always tragic? Because at the moment you look at the face of the other person that you love, you know that that person will die. Immediately you know it. You know that now you have love, but you know that you will have to say goodbye. So fundamentally, the world, the way it is, the world is always a fusion of two opposites. It's always the fusion of the opposite of joy, but great sadness at the same time. This is what the heart is. And the symbol for the heart also in the Christian tradition, like Jesus and Mother Maria is always crying, she was crying because she's loving so much. So the more you love, the more you cry, in a way. Yeah. So the heart, deeply, fundamentally, is that place in between the eternal and the limited. Yeah. And so you will experience the eternal and you will experience the limited at the same time, which of course means that you are full of love and you're very sad. For everyone who is suffering, and you see that suffering all the time, constantly. You're hugging your kids and you will suffer. I'm so sorry for you. I love you so much, but you will have to go away and I will have to go away. Yeah. This is fundamentally what the heart tells you. So, does that mean now you shouldn't concentrate on Agnya Chakra? No. Agnya Chakra is concentration on the command of the Supreme. Why do people concentrate on Agnya Chakra? Because they want to hear the voice of God. Yeah? Agnya Chakra is the voice of the Supreme. Concentrate on Agnya Chakra and the mission of reality becomes clear to you. So Agnya Chakra is the brilliant, creative vision of reality in which everything makes sense. Yeah? It's the burning flame in which the future and the past become one. Yeah? In which the two rivers become one. This is what Agnya Chakra is. It's absorption, meditative absorption. In the Shat Chakra Nirupana, we have the description of Agnya Chakra as dhyana, shines with the glory of dhyana. So shines with the absorption in the state of meditation. Okay, and in that state of meditation, the voice of God should speak to you. What is the voice of God? This is just the vision of reality, the vision of what is. Because, this is what it is. It's not a voice, it's a truth. Good. Very, very good. So let's stimulate the chakras a little bit with sound, then we make a short break and then we continue. Sit up straight. Hands on the knees. Bring the thumbs inside like this, put the hands like this here, your base, or like that. Feel the bass. contract the anus. Om Lama. Om Lama. Cross the hands like this. Close with your thumbs on top, put them inside your pelvis. The crescent moon in your pelvis. Interlock the fingers, bring them right in front of the diaphragm, like that. Pull the elbows a little bit to the side. Bring the hands to the heart. interlock your fingers and bring them behind your neck like this, if the thumb's down. And now tilt the pelvis forward. By tilting the pelvis forward, automatically your chest will more easily open. Push the elbows a little bit to the side. Focus on your pelvis and chest being forward. Bring the hands forward, thumb at the root of your nose. Bring the fingers over the forehead, open like this, the elbows, the flame burning on the forehead. Interlock your hands up like this. Hands to the heart. Om Purnamada. Om Purnamada. Purnamidam. Purnamidam. Idam Purnata Purnam Purnata Purnam Udachyate Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Purnasya Purnam Adaya Adaya Purnameva Vashishyate Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
5 minutes break or something, okay?